Right now, North Carolina is bracing for Hurricane Helene. Governor Roy Cooper already issued a state of emergency, and he's preparing, as you see, to give an update from the Emergency Operations Center in Raleigh regarding what is to come. Let's listen.
Joining us, we want to take this time to give you the latest updates on Hurricane Helene as it closes in on North Carolina. This is an unusually dangerous storm that threatens to bring heavy rain and potentially catastrophic flooding tonight and tomorrow for central and particularly western North Carolina. When tropical weather crosses into our mountains, it can be deadly. Just a few years ago, Tropical Storm Fred shocked our mountain regions with torrential rain, sweeping away homes, bridges, and lives. With Helene, this can happen again. And just last week, we were reminded of the unpredictability of severe weather in North Carolina as a coastal storm brought 20+ inches of rain on parts of southeastern North Carolina. With Hurricane Helene, we have to be clear here. Heavy rains and winds are coming. Beware and prepare. Travel will be dangerous. Flooding is likely, and we are preparing for unexpected conditions. Our thoughts are with our friends in Florida and other southern states that are being hit first, and our priority here is to protect lives and manage the impact of the storm on our communities here in our state as it arrives. Helene is forecast to bring more than a foot of rain to parts of western North Carolina, which will likely cause significant flash flooding, landslides, damaging debris flows, slope failures across steep terrain, and river flooding. Even areas that don't typically experience it may see flooding. Cities like Charlotte and Asheville could see flash flooding despite not being in the storm's direct path. To prepare, all North Carolinians should tune into weather alerts today and through the weekend. Tropical storm force winds are possible across western North Carolina later today and into Friday. With already saturated soils from earlier rains, falling trees could cause widespread power outages. As of this morning, there are about 14,000 estimated power outages statewide. There is the potential for tornadoes with this storm system as well, which can quickly spin up with a little warning. This storm path is wide, and its impacts will be felt far from the center of the storm. North Carolina State Emergency Operations Center is communicating with local leaders and emergency management teams across our state. I've activated 175 soldiers and airmen from the North Carolina National Guard, and we've deployed North Carolina Swiftwater rescue teams and urban search and rescue teams to assist in the response and to save lives. Our Department of Transportation is standing ready to respond to road closures and repair the damage. We've spoken to Duke Energy and know that line workers are standing by to restore power. Yesterday, I declared a state of emergency to help move supplies like water, food, and medicine, heavy equipment, and to support agricultural operations before the storm arrives. If you do not need to travel, please stay off the roadways, especially in the foothills and in the mountains. Do not drive through floodwaters. We have lost too many North Carolinians who have driven around barricades and into floodwaters, including one just last week in Brunswick County. You cannot tell the depth of water just by looking at it from your vehicle. Turn around, don't drown. If you are told to evacuate, get out of the danger zone. Make a plan now to stay with friends or family if you are in an area that could likely be flooded. And I think that there are a number of these in the mountains that could be this way. Please stay informed to protect yourself and your family. Today I'm joined by Emergency Management Director Will Ray, our Secretary of the Department of Public Safety, Eddie Buffalo, the Adjutant General of the North Carolina National Guard, Major General Todd Hunt, Chief Operating Officer of the North Carolina Department of Transportation, Chris Peoples, the Commander of the North Carolina State Highway Patrol, Colonel Freddie Johnson, FEMA Field Coordinating Officer Craig Levy. Our American Sign Language interpreters are Brian Tipton and Mark Lineberger. Behind the scenes, our Spanish language interpreters are Yasmin Mativier and Tamara Cabrera. At this time, I'll ask Director Ray for his update. Director Ray?
Thank you, Governor Cooper, and good morning, everyone. As the governor said, North Carolina has begun to experience the impacts of Helene, which will continue into Saturday. The impacts of Helene should not be ignored, and all North Carolinians should remain informed, have a plan in place to protect your family, and should take this storm seriously. As Governor Cooper said, the primary threats to our state include heavy rainfall, life-threatening flash flooding, damaging landslides, debris flows, and riverine flooding. Though the primary impacts will be to the mountains and foothills, central and eastern North Carolina can expect heavy rainfall, severe thunderstorms, and possible severe weather such as tornadoes. Today, western North Carolina can expect to see multiple rounds of showers and storms continue. Significant flash floods are likely into tonight prior to the arrival of Helene's rain bands. Tropical storm warnings have been issued from Charlotte to the west, and areas of western North Carolina will receive 9 to 14 inches of rainfall, with amounts up to or in excess of 20 inches possible in some locations. Yesterday, the state of North Carolina requested an emergency declaration from FEMA to provide direct federal assistance for work and services to save lives and protect property. That request was approved this morning by the White House, and also yesterday, the FEMA Federal Coordinating Officer and a FEMA Incident Management Assistance Team from Region 7, our partners in Kansas, arrived to assist us here at the State Emergency Operations Center. There are currently 18 local states of emergencies declared, and we know that that number will continue to go up as of this morning. There are 3 shelters open in western North Carolina, and our North Carolina Emergency Management Human Services branch remains in close coordination with our partners across the state and actively planning for the potential increased shelter support as conditions dictate. The North Carolina State Emergency Operations Center has deployed 16 Swiftwater rescue teams and added 3 additional Swiftwater rescue teams from our colleagues in New York, Indiana, and Illinois through the Emergency Management Assistance Compact, a resource-sharing mutual aid system between states. Additionally, our North Carolina Urban Search and Rescue teams are at the ready to assist should any landslides or damage to structures occur, with 3 North Carolina task forces currently on state orders. Many local jurisdictions across our state have offered their emergency resources to assist impacted communities. In North Carolina, we operate under a whole-of-community approach to disaster management, and the close collaboration between local communities and the sharing of resources further solidifies that approach. The North Carolina Office of State Fire Marshal has activated fire and rescue rostering system to identify additional resources and deploy where needed. These resources include fire marshals, firefighting engine companies, ladder companies, and the State Fire Marshal Swiftwater team. The State Emergency Response Team continues to monitor dams across the state, along with our partners in the Department of Environmental Quality, to ensure that residents are notified in the event of an issue. As the governor said, please avoid traveling if at all possible, particularly in the mountains and foothills. If you must travel, please visit drivenc.gov to check roadway status. This website is updated regularly by the North Carolina Department of Transportation. Please do not drive through water and respect the barricades and road closures. For those that are in flood-prone areas, please make sure you're informed, that you have a plan of action to quickly evacuate if necessary, and that you're receiving information from reliable sources, such as local emergency management offices and the National Weather Service. Enable emergency alerts on your mobile phone to make sure you receive those life-saving notifications. If you know of a threat, you can take action. Flooding may occur outside of areas that normally flood with the forecasted rainfall totals we are seeing. North Carolina's utility partners are also engaged here at the state EOC and are planning for restoration operations statewide. In many areas, trees may fall due to already saturated soils and cause widespread power outages. Please treat all downed power lines as energized and do not approach them. If you must run a generator or use a grill for outdoor cooking, please do so away from your home, as carbon monoxide is colorless and odorless. The North Carolina Flood Inundation Mapping and Alert Network, or FIMAN, provides access to the state's nearly 600 river flood gauges. Visit fiman.nc.gov and sign up for alerts for the gauges closest to your home or your community. The lingering impacts of Tropical Storm Debbie and potential Tropical Cyclone 8 remain. Our recovery team is maintaining support to those impacted local jurisdictions in central and eastern North Carolina. Damage assessments continue and recovery resources are being provided to those impacted communities. Remember to utilize 911 only for emergencies. If you need general information regarding the storm, please call 211 and leave emergency lines open. Remain alert, informed, and check on your neighbors and those in your community who may need assistance. During a disaster or major event, we are stronger together and make for more resilient communities. Finally, I want to acknowledge and thank those that have left their families and already worked long hours, responded to emergency calls for assistance, and have staffed emergency operations centers and incident command posts across our state to keep all North Carolinians safe. We're fortunate to have such dedicated and professional public safety personnel in our state. Thank you. Governor.
Thank you, Director Ray. Anyone with questions can come to the microphone over here to the right. Any of us are available for questions that you might have. Laura?
Laura Leslie, WRAL. Question for you. You mentioned Hurricane Fred, and we remember that under Hurricane Fred, there were deaths, for example, out in western North Carolina, and there was frustration expressed by some of the local leaders out there about the pace of recovery and the pace of relief and aid. What has changed since then, or what have we learned in the interim that might make things better if there is such a terrible outcome this time?
We learned lessons from Fred. I know that we have a lot of our equipment and supplies that are spaced throughout western North Carolina, and I may call up Director Ray to address this specifically. I also think it's important for people where we expect flooding to go somewhere else, to make sure that you and your families are safe in order to avoid lives. We had to come in with state recovery because, for example, a lot of the bridges that were out in western North Carolina were not public bridges. They were private bridges. And so we helped provide funding to rebuild a lot of that. And when you're in the mountains, just construction and repair work is much more difficult and expensive. I'm concerned about our mountain areas. Seeing the amount of rain that's already on the ground and this storm coming, I've seen firsthand the devastation that it can cause. I've spent many days in western North Carolina getting to these places that were destroyed. So we want people to be careful, to move out if they think that they may be in trouble. And I know that there are a lot of resources on the ready to, number one, to save lives. Director Ray, if you want to respond to that as well, I'll start you over here.
Thanks for the question, Laura. I think, as you referenced, there are a couple of benchmarks.
You've been listening to a special report regarding Governor Roy Cooper and the state of emergency now issued for North Carolina ahead of what is Hurricane Helene, set to hit Florida tonight and bring impacts to North Carolina tonight and especially tomorrow morning. The governor emphasized power outages, flash floods, and tornadoes are all concerns with this storm, primarily from Charlotte west toward Asheville, but the Piedmont certainly not out of the woods, as our meteorology team has been discussing. There are 175 soldiers from the National Guard on standby and 16 Swiftwater rescue teams able to assist our local crews from New New York and the Midwest as part of this partnership that they have for severe storms like this. Duke Energy, as we know, has crews mobilized to respond to expected power outages here and west of us. And then Brunswick County was of note. Governor Cooper emphasizing the tragedy that happened just last week when someone tried to drive through floodwaters, emphasizing it is so important to turn around, don't drown when weather situations like this happen. We will keep you updated on our end. Of course, you can follow our app, WFMY News 2. It is free to download in your app store for the most up-to-date information and radar as we track Helene. We'll see you back here for WFMY News 2 at noon.